It's really something that can be must be tailored to the needs of the different cities. And now we are going to hear some different experience from 3 different cities that have started to adopt it, or they are planning to do so. So I will start with Barbara Emanuel, that will give us an idea on how Toronto is moving ahead with that.
This one's forward. Okay, thank you. Hi, so I'm going to share with you the process that we went through in the City of Toronto to adapt the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact framework to the work that we're doing. Before I do that, I want to just provide a small context for the way that we approach things. I think all of us in this room are here because we see food as a vehicle to realize multiple city goals. And we also realize that having a way to get at the metrics and a set of data to show progress or perhaps lack of progress on food system change or sustainable, healthy food systems is a pressure that we all under, but is an incredibly complex undertaking. There are so many ways that we can slice and dice the food system and describe how we do our work. So for us in Toronto, we decided that it makes sense because of the enormous amount of thinking and engagement and work that has been done to create this framework by so many people, including FAO, RUAF, C40. We thought, let's shift the way that we've described our work to be more in sync with the Milan Pact and to be part of what Joy says as part of the common narrative. But also at home, one of the drivers was that, and I would imagine that many of us who are practitioners on the ground are subject to enormous political pressure to describe the food system in really clear language on one sheet of paper. And, you know, how can we say that the work we're doing is effective? And do it in 52 words or less, that kind of thing. And we faced that at the City of Toronto. And of course, it's an incredibly complex thing to decide. So I approach this, and I will share the process, but I also have to share some caution about using a framework and getting hooked into the momentum of developing indicators and data. Because all too often, the collection of data can become an end in itself. You know, collecting data for a single indicator can be an enormous amount of work and can be a distraction from doing actual implementation on the ground. So while it's important, I think we all need to find that balance between action and reporting to the powers that be, and to reflection ourselves about the work. So that's a sort of very delicate, ongoing balancing act. And the last point that I will show you in the presentation is that as much as anything, having this framework and populating the framework with the indicators and adapting it to the local context is itself a tool for engagement with others in other departments of the city, with community, with private sector. And we have begun to find this right away. So I will try to demonstrate the process. So first and foremost, with a food strategy, and I think it's the same for trying to get indicators for a whole food system, a food strategy is much more than a single report or action plan or set of recommendations. And it has to constantly be updated, changed, opportunistic, take advantage of collaboration and opportunities and resources that are out there. And it's about strengthening and facilitating positive connections with multiple stakeholders. So the following three tools helped us with our approach and in adapting the framework. So we needed to do some reflecting on our progress on food system transformation. The food strategy has been in existence for 8 years now, and we had to sort of step back and say, are we in the right direction? What else can we do, and how can we better communicate what we're doing? We had an initiative that mapped food initiatives and the framework adaptation. So when we looked at this, 3 new priority areas have emerged. One is sustainable diets and nutrition, which we think about as ecological public health, resiliency and food vulnerability assessment, and food systems waste are our emerging priorities. So we, in the process of doing this, we looked at our current work streams, I guess, or our current themes, and looked at how they mapped onto the Milan Pact Action work streams, and discovered that for the most part there was a good fit, although we needed to make a few changes. In particular, the work stream ensuring an enabling environment, we have simply called governance. The sustainable diets and nutrition, we felt a broader frame of health, which includes sustainable diets and nutrition, was a much more effective way for us to engage our stakeholders and to really deepen our own work in the City of Toronto, and the fact that the food strategy is located in Toronto Public Health. Social and economic equity worked for us. We decided to combine the food production, supply, and distribution into one theme that was the whole food system, supplied, distribution, production. And on the food waste, we thought it's very important to call it food system waste, not just food waste, so that there is an intentionality about action at all parts of the food system. So we mapped the City of Toronto food initiatives, and you can see this incredibly complex diagram that was done, and we have so many things that are explicitly food and not so explicitly food. And if you're interested in looking at this, the report is available online. And we mapped those food initiatives onto the framework itself. So we were able to, by each action stream, map on each city initiative and which stream it fit into, who the partners were, both at the city government level and in the community, what indicators were made sense, and what data sources were already available. So here you go, I'll just flip through that fast. So the conclusion around this process of adapting the framework is for us, and in conversation with a number of other cities, we feel there's a notable absence of environmental specific goals in the current framework, and in particular, metrics pertaining to climate change and measures around that with respect to food. There are some work streams where existing data is sparse, but this process of populating the framework helped us identify the gaps and priorities for further action. And we've got now the populated framework, and so what, now what? We have the framework, there's still more work to do.
Thank you so much, Barbara. Very interesting and very rich, I would say. So I would call Leon now to present the insights from City of Ede. Please keep your intervention in 8 minutes.
First of all, I'd like to thank the City of Tel Aviv for organizing this event. And I would like to say to Mrs. Meireta Baruch-Ron, Shana Tova Umetuka. Happy New Year. Ede has an integrated food policy. What does it mean? This slide shows you. Our aim is healthy and sustainable food for everyone in our city. We reach the goal both on the social aspect, social policy, health policy, and economic level. Thus not a one-sided approach, but different aspects of policy, an integrated approach. We have an aim. We formulate actions to reach that aim.